first thing we'd start with, who's the game against who?
Sydney Uni.
Okay, so you're playing Sydney Uni.
Yep.
Okay. And what day is that?
That's Saturday night.
Okay. In time?
7 o'clock.
7 p.m.
Yeah.
Saturday night against Sydney Uni.
Yeah.
Okay. What colour shirts do they wear?
Yellow shirts, blue
Yeah.
shorts, blue socks.
Okay. And what colour's your?
Red shirt,
Yeah.
green shorts, red socks.
Okay. What's involved in that game? Who's going to be at that game? What will be involved in the game? Who will be there? You've got your teammates.
Teammates. Obviously the people from our club, like the technical director, those guys. Obviously they're fans.
Yeah.
So a few
Okay.
parents as well. Yeah. So,
Okay, fans.
yeah.
And you can add to that referee. Within the script, we want to make it as real as possible. One of the ways to think of visualization is, imagine you were making a film. Imagine you had the task of making a film. Your job was to create a film. And you were going to create the film exactly how you want it to be. Okay? What you have to have is all the characters in place. You have to have an idea of what you want to achieve from the film. You have to have an idea of what's involved. So obviously, what we could do, as well as that, we could do other things that, because remember we talked yesterday, we learned through our senses. You could talk about the smell of the grass. You could talk about the smell of the muscle rub that you used beforehand. All these things come into it to recreate reality. The mind can't tell the difference between real and non-real. It's very, very minimal. You think about it, you have like a nightmare, you wake up in the middle of the night, and the mind's not sure what's going on. And if you watch a film that's scary, you don't really, it's difficult to differentiate for the mind. Okay, so we can play, and top performers will do this process hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, over and over again. Because every time you do this, it builds what we call a neural pathway in the mind. It's like playing a game over and over again. And obviously I know time is of the essence, and everyone's got different amounts of time. But I would say, even if you did this once, in between playing one game and the other game, your performance would have a massive impact.
What's the best time to do it, Jim? Would you do it straight after you played your last game, or do it closer to your next game?
Probably best to leave it a day or two, to sit down, go back to the drawing board, and then start rebuilding with what you want to achieve. And then what you could do is put together a script, visualize your script over 15, 20 minutes or so, and then you could do that a couple of times before the event, or as often as you've got time to do. The more you do it, the more chance of being successful you have. Yet, in the world that we live in, not everyone's got obviously time to run over and over it again. I do know that some of the top performers in some of the top leagues in the world do come back and actually visualise their training, or aspects of their training, again, just recreate it in their mind and think about it.
So do they, when they visualise, do they actually write down key points, or do they try and do it all in their heads?
Well, when I'm doing this session with, some will do it just in their own mind,
Yep.
without thinking about it. When I'm doing a session with one of my clients, what I will do is I'll get them to write a script. I'll get them to tell me, say we're preparing for a game, a big game, I will get them to write a script. Everyone who's involved in the game, everyone that's involved in the game, where it is, what the weather will be like, all the different permutations, depending, maybe it might be windy, maybe it might be rain, maybe it might be warm, all various permutations, how they would react to different situations. And I'd get them to think about one or two things. I'd throw one or two spanners in the works as well and see how they could react. You get a bad decision, what do? You miss a goal, what do you do? So I'd get them thinking about various permutations as well, how they would react, how they would come back as well. I'd get them to write down all their possible concerns. Because if they've got any concerns, they need to be addressed. Because there's no point focusing on your concerns. Focus on the solution to the concern, which is key. So I will ask them, so okay, say, whoever it is I'm working with, say, okay, we'll address different concerns they might have about the game. They might go to that ground, we never get a refereeing decision. Okay, if the referee doesn't give you a decision the way you want it to go, what will you do? Will you argue with the ref, or will you get on and play the game? What will have the biggest and best permutation? So we'll look at that, but we'll more or less be focusing on how we want the game to go. So we've got an idea. Your position, so you play in the midfield,
Defensive midfield.
defensive midfield, you're a defensive midfielder, and are you clear on your role?
Yep.
Okay. This is where my job sometimes is about speaking to the coach, because I've had many players who have come across to see me and they're not clear. They don't know what they're supposed to do. Even at the very highest level, they honestly don't know. They just don't know what they should be doing. If you go on the field and you're not sure about what you should be doing, what chance have you got? If you were to get up in the morning and make your way to buy a paper at a shop and you didn't know where one was, you could be looking for ages. You might fluke it and find one. Then again, there might be none in the vicinity. So you need to know what your role is. And the amount of players I've had work with and said to them, look, go back to your coach and clarify what they want you to do. And sometimes the coach, they don't even know themselves. They're not even too sure themselves. Well, what should he do? Well, I want to play like such and such. Well, what does such and such do? I want you to play this role like this player does for that team. Well, how do you do that? Well, so it's not clear. It's got to be clear in the player's mind, which is key. So if we define your role, what is your role as a forward?
Basically, link between defence and the attacking third, the attackers and the other offensive midfielders.
Okay. And what system does your team play?
4-3-3.
So you play 4-3-3, and you're the holding midfield, defensive midfielder.
Yeah. So obviously, when the centre back has the ball, like you got the whole, the Barca, the right backs push on, the left back pushes on, and then I'd tuck in to make the back three.
Yeah. What would a perfect game for you be? What would be, from start to finish, what would be your ideal game against Sydney Uni? What would you want to do?
Probably no missed passes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So all successful passes.
Okay. You picked up on that quick.
Yeah.
Because if you're going into a game,
Yeah.
thinking no missed passes, what do you think is going to happen?
You're gonna miss one.
Keep possession.
Precisely, yeah, because you're thinking negative instruction. If I tell you don't lose the ball, you think of losing the ball. So we want to make it a positive instruction. So if you do pick up that with the people you're working with or with yourself, change it. Change missed passes to what you want. What do you want out of the game? So missed passes would be, it might be, I want to complete 100 successful passes. Whatever it is that you want is key. Because you're focusing on that, then you're sure going to achieve it. Okay, so what you want from this game? You start this game against Sydney, you're really, how does the game go?
What do you mean?
Okay, game kicks off.
Yeah.
What would the ideal, what would the, let's say 90 minutes game's finished, what would have been the ideal game for you? What would you have done?
Probably played well tactically, like obviously keep on position, reduce the space in midfield, obviously, and with that, the passes, and with that comes obviously dominating the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by dominating, I mean like obviously more possession, more chances.
Okay.
For them, more chances. Yeah.
So you minimise their chances, you tackle, you pass.
Yeah.
Do you have any strikes on goal?
Oh, rarely.
Okay,
Yeah.
so rarely a strike on goal. Your job is to screen the back four and keep the ball moving.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and that would be a successful game for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the only thing I would say, backing track on that, and this is to bear in mind, this is why it's important that we have people doing demonstrations, is because it's the only way we can pick these things up. I would say, I would go back to the probably. Probably for me is not a strong enough word. I think you think I'm going to probably do this, then you'll either get the chance. I would go back and say to you, the person you're working with, or to yourself, to be assertive, say, this is what I'm going to do. Go out there and I'm going to play this way, which is key. Because if you think of anything otherwise, then you're going to hit that benchmark as well, which is important. Okay. So you know you can perform. You know you're confident enough that you can perform at this level and beyond this level. You know what you've got to do, okay, in your own mind. With all that, what we would do is get the player to visualise. And the best way to visualise is to ask the player, or for yourself as players or coaches, to close your eyes and visualise. The reason why you would close your eyes is because if your eyes are open, you're distracted by everything around you. You're thinking about things that are going on, what's for tea, what's for lunch, what am I going to watch tomorrow night on television. All these different things are going on. If you close your eyes, you block all that out, and you're thinking purely about the execution of what you need to do. Okay, which is important.
Tim, would he set sort of goals, individual goals that are sort of finite, like you might say, keep possession 90% of the time, and say put through 2 penetrating the balls to set up the striker? You might say, I want to do that at least twice during the game. I want to put through 2 penetrating balls.
I think
it
so.
may not happen, but
yeah, no, you're right.
Put a minimum and say.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you could the script could be as defined as you want it to be, and I think the key has got to come from the players.
Individual. Yeah.
It's got to come from the player. As a coach, if we sort of feed that into the player, then we're designing a game that may not be based on what they. I mean, it is a good point. I think that it is worth doing that. Yet there might be that two-way discussion you have the player. It might be, this guy's a player, how do you want the game to go? And you could sort of elaborate, sort of get an idea of the way you would play, and you could quantify it statistically if you wanted to. It's okay. If you had the luxury of like Prozone, where you can analyse the games, you could say, well, this time I want 95 pass completion. Maybe I want more. So depending on how much equipment you've got and what you can do, then there's no end in terms of how you could go about doing this process. And players will do this anyway, without even, some players will do it without even realising it. You know, they think, okay, I did this last game, and they'll set themselves targets. And again, you know, people don't just get up in the morning and turn up at a football pitch or any sport and do it by chance. They'll be thinking about it at some point in their head. They'll be thinking precisely what they want to do, which is key. I'll do a short variation of the process with you, because obviously time, and then we can have a go amongst yourselves. And maybe you can gear up towards your next. Close your eyes for momentarily. And the key is now, is just to go in a relaxed state. So when you close your eyes, the best thing to do is just let yourself go, really relax. And just go to a time when you felt really relaxed and comfortable, and let everything go. Just imagine emptying your mind into a bin liner, and you can put it outside for now. You can pick it up later if you wish, but for now, focus on your performance on Saturday night. Okay, I want you to imagine now that Saturday night you're making your way to the game against Sydney Uni. It's at 7 o'clock. You turn up. You're in the dressing room. All the players around you. You notice all your friends or your teammates. You might smell the muscle. You might smell the muscle grub. You might also taste the sports drink. All these things that you can imagine before the game. You might feel a little bit nervous, which is okay. It's controlling them. You know exactly what you need to do. You walk out the tunnel. You go onto the ground. You can feel the grass under your feet. You probably smell the grass as well. And you notice the team. Okay, you notice what they're wearing, the yellow, and the shorts, and your strip red. And you can literally, on the field, see your formation of the team, the whistle goes, the referee. And I want you to play the game in your mind. Okay, it's 4-3-3. You're in this position where you're defensive midfielder, passing the ball, your movement. Think about your pass completion, your movement, getting into space, closing down the opposition, and playing the game exactly. And just playing the game from the first minute right through to the end of the first half. And then you go in for half-time break, you come back out in the second half, you recommence the game, and just play it again exactly how you want it to go. pick out your passes, your movement, exactly how you want the game to go, and just let the game flow. Okay. And now you get to the end of the game, the 90 minutes, and how did you? We come towards the end of the game, and obviously we could keep going. I mean, you could do a full game if you wanted to. You could do. There's nothing stopping you from doing a full game if you wanted to. Yet, maybe you probably might want to improvise. And I'd say 20, 30 minutes would be... How did you feel, even in this small exercise? How did you feel when you sort of...
Felt confident.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like everything's gone to plan, you know. Like,
Yeah.
you can, yeah, like, you know, like it was pretty, you know, powerful, you know, I could see myself, you know, like getting a ball back or a wall pass or a long pass would be, you know, beat right on the guy's chest and all that, so.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And could you like see what was going on?
yeah, like closing down, you know, I could visualise, you know, like say the pushing and all that as well.
Yeah.
All that, yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
No, brilliant. Thanks for